Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cash Talk. Today, I'm joined by a friend of mine, Nicola Hynes. Nicola is a aspiring financial advisor entering her supervisory year as a financial advisor. She has a passion for helping people as early as possible to start their wealth creation journey so that they can spend more time doing the things they love. Nicola regularly provides financial educational content on Instagram, where she has got quite a following, and of amazing financially savvy individuals. Everyone, Nicola.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me, John. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Obviously, me and you have been chatting for a while. Obviously, we talked about, quite a few following on Instagram, and that's how I got to kind of know you. And we started to talk and obviously share our passions, for helping millennial people or people as early as possible. Let's be honest, really get on the road to, financial success. Really, us both being kind of on the earlier end of our careers for most people. For us, it's a matter of teaching or educating people as much as possible to get on the journey with us. So, I really enjoy your content. And for people that aren't on Instagram, she has quite a following, and it's a really, really good educational content. So if you're not on there, jump on there. In the post and in the distribution of this podcast and vlog, I'll tag her Instagram so you can go and follow her as well too. But enough about that. Let's get into some of the stuff that we really want to talk about on Cash Talk. Okay, but it's really around millennials, your views on it. Obviously, me and you are really kind of in the front line of seeing how these things are changing, and they have moved quite a bit, especially even in my 2 decades from where I started in the financial advice industry to now. Things have changed quite a bit, and obviously you're really getting to the point where it's advice ready for you. Let's talk around your journey. Let's talk around getting into it. It's obviously changed for you, but where did you start? How did you get into financial advice? Yeah, just speak to me about that.
Yeah, sure. So I guess financial advice, I never really knew that it existed when I was, in high school. I finished school kind of classic scenario. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I always really enjoyed sort of math, science subjects. So I loved working with numbers. So leaving school, sort of like go and do engineering or go and do this maths degree, which I wasn't really interested in pursuing because I really wanted to have, like a people-oriented job where I was helping people. And so I actually started studying nutrition, which is kind of, another passion of mine. And so I did that for a year, and I'm still really interested in it. And I think, health and finances definitely tie in all together, but I sort of realized I wasn't wanting to do that as my full-time job. Anyway, so I changed into doing teaching, high school teaching. And that was definitely an interesting experience. I did actually really enjoy it. But I guess I couldn't really see myself in 10 years' time still doing that. I just couldn't really see it being a future. And I think I definitely learned a lot of soft skills from that in terms of, educating and like breaking down concepts to a younger audience. So it was definitely handy. And so I started doing a commerce degree. I still wasn't 100% sure I was going to major in accounting and finance. And what happened was my parents have a financial advisor. We'd never honestly ever spoken about it. One time they mentioned they were going to see her. And I said, oh, that's cool. So I started sort of just researching a bit on the internet. And I was like, oh, this is actually quite a cool space because it's like a good combo of numbers and also being with people. And so basically I reached out to a few advisors that I sort of knew in acquaintances, and I just said, can I come and chat to you for an hour, buy you a coffee and ask you everything about what you do? And so I did that, and I literally left and I was like, this is what I want to do. It was just sort of an overnight thing, and it was kind of good timing. My uni had just started offering financial planning as a degree. And so I just switched my majors. And so, yeah, I ended up majoring in finance and financial planning. Finished the degree just a month ago. And yeah, here I am sort of ready to get into doing my professional year.
It's amazing that you went down such a different journey, but for me, they're kind of all related to get to where you are now. Like from my perspective, like health is very, very important. You can be as wealthy as you can be, but if you're not looking after your health, what's it all for? So, that kind of nutritional understanding about, doing that's very important. I think the teaching element, I obviously see, you're very much strong about education as well too. So, you probably did enjoy it much, but then to land where you was is pretty cool. So, I think that combination has been very, very good, actually. But what we find is from someone who's been in it for a while, trying to attract talent into the financial advisory industry, what we probably find is that a lot of people don't know about financial advice. Like, their view of what financial advice and what it actually is two different things. And, you probably saw that by going to speak to these people, and obviously you speak to me about it, and obviously you're even doing it now, but it's not a lot about the kind of trying to beat the market like people think we do, these kind of Wolf of Wall Street guys that do that. It's not a lot about like that stuff. What I fell in love with, and we've talked about this before, is the impactful change you can have with an individual and the personal connections you have with people. Is that what you found, and is that what you fell in love with as well too? Was that the ultimate kicker, or what was it?
Yeah, definitely. I guess when I thought about doing accounting, I mean, I did start working for an accounting firm, and I pretty quickly realized this probably isn't something I'd love doing. It's sort of quite transactional. So it's like you come in, you see the client, you deliver whatever they require, but you don't really have that ongoing relationship in the same way you do as a financial advisor, where you do know your client's personal life, their money situation, and you kind of develop quite a strong bond over the years. And I think that's what I really wanted to do, because I was like, I can help people and also be doing the technical side where I am learning. So that was definitely something that excited me about the industry, I guess. And I guess, like you said, not a lot of people know about it. So I feel like because it's predominantly career switching industry where people have come from different backgrounds, maybe they haven't even known about it until they've sought out advice themselves. There's definitely such a diverse range of like skill sets within the industry, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see your excitement. A lot of people that know me know how passionate and excited I am about the industry. And obviously, you, Nicola, having that passion as well, for me is amazing that I can share that with someone. And obviously, we know a lot of people that share the passion. And for people that don't know about financial advice, I actually categorize it into kind of occupational fields that have the most impact in someone's life. It's the doctor performing open heart surgery that's saving someone's life from a health perspective. And you've got financial advice that if you get this life they get a life that they've never expected before, and absolutely change the life of them and generations to come. So we're in a really fortunate position, and it's a great occupation. Well, I jump out of bed for it. I love it, and good to see you do the same. Now, talking about obviously off your journey and my journey, and obviously how much we love it, let's get into some of the stuff that we work with in regards to millennials and what we see. And one of the ones that I want to speak about is some of the key struggles that you believe that millennials are faced with when it comes to their finances. In regards to, obviously, you're putting educational content out there, and people are kind of responding, and they're kind of, what are you kind of feeling? And even in your network, what are you feeling from these millennials are the major struggles?
Yeah, for sure. I think it is a bit hard on the content side of things, because obviously financial planning, is quite big picture. You're looking at the overall person's holistic scenario, which is very specific to them. So online, it's sort of hard to, like, I'm sharing little snippets of content, but I know that I'll never really be able to impact in the same way an advisor will. So I'm sort of more focusing on the education side of things, like raising awareness about investing, cash flow, and how to, I guess, build those habits early on. I think some of the key struggles that millennials face, probably the first one is that we do have a lot of information out there. So it's like people want to get started, but they're almost paralyzed by the amount of information out there. And then they've got this coming from their parents and this coming from their friends. And there's so much information on the internet. It's like you can pretty much find information to support any belief that you have. So it's sort of hard to kind of make those decisions.
Do you find that that information, and where I was going at with those messages as well too, is that social platforms, and even for me, my following as well too, has become like this like source of financial information, which isn't actually a source of information properly. Like today, I was actually on a call with a potential client, okay, and she was totally unaware that the ASX 200, it took from 2008 to 2019 for it to reach the levels it was pre-GFC. Like she was totally unaware of it. She's like, her actual comment was, "Well, that's not what they tell me on Instagram." And I'm like, I had to literally bring up the chart. And this is what we're talking about this information. And this is what I was kind of alluding to with messages. I'm finding that I'm getting all of this messaging, and the struggle is actually this information, one, overload, and this also this a lot of misinformation as well.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, yeah, that's the same thing. You have to be very straight up with like your DMs and things like that, because people will message me and like, what should I invest in this return? It's like, I can't give you investment advice because I don't know anything about you. You're a stranger on the internet, and I don't know any of your goals and objectives. I don't know what you're trying to achieve. I don't know what your risk tolerance is. I don't know any of these things. And I just have to reply and say, sorry, like I can't.
It's like that old. I've just got a quick question. Yeah, if I did this and our brains, people that are viewing and listening, like that simple question has so many ramifications or implications that could possibly happen. We're not trying to be mean about this. We're actually just understanding that the message we send. Not only do we have to provide you with proper formal written advice, but that impact of that advice, if we did it, which we wouldn't, but if we did, the impacts could lead you in so many bad ways that it's better for us to just say, no, we're not even going to respond. So, information's one.
Yep, there's no quick questions in financial advice. It's always a, long conversation. So, yeah, I think that was kind of a learning curve when I first started my account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think another one that millennials face, is, I guess, being quite time poor, and so not really having that clear strategy in terms of just getting overwhelmed, and then it's sort of just you put it off to next year and next year and next year, and before you know it, you've got kids and a mortgage, and you still kind of aren't any further along than you were.
I was going to say the time poor one is probably even time choice as well too for some people. It's around the priorities. Yeah, it's like we want to create wealth, we want to do all of these things, and we just want to make money. Well, in good times, it's okay. You can everyone can run a bull market. Everyone can kind of jump on the market when it needs to. But if you haven't kept up to date with the risks, make sure you're protecting your backside. Not necessarily needing to watch the stock market every day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm more going about keeping up to date and giving the attention that your wealth creation requires. Yes, definitely. I see that there's not adequate time allocated, and therefore exposing a lot of risks, which can lead to potential struggles that people are facing, maybe that they don't even know that they're facing.
Definitely. And the third one I kind of wanted to touch on was, I guess, saving for a house deposit. It's something that a lot of millennials, I mean, not all of them, some of them want to do. And it's just the house price to income ratio is, I guess, higher than it's ever been. So, yeah.
I think from my perspective on that one, it goes without saying that people, will struggle to get a house deposit at the moment, especially on those ratios. And I think that there's a lot of like intergenerational stuff, if they can be done, like obviously parents getting involved to help on deposit. There's obviously all these schemes that are happening, but the reality is it's probably still not enough. Okay. The affordability of houses for many people is sometimes out of reach. And obviously I know that, and many people know that this is a major focus of the government to try and making sure that people retain, the ability to purchase a home, or, the Australian dream. But it does feel to be like a little bit out of reach from some people. But, don't lose hope. The client that I was speaking to, or the potential client I was speaking to today, we were nutting out some game plans and nutting out some scenarios and opportunities, and it is a possibility to be achieved. But maybe we'll lead on to one that I did want to maybe ask you a little bit later, but I'll ask it now. Are you in, people around you, are you starting to get the sense of that renting is becoming more of an option? Like it's just like, purchasing a house is just too much for me to even consider. I'll just rent and potentially just invest and rent vest. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting conversation that I've sort of had with a few of, I guess, my mentors. I guess, say from like my parents' generation, they're pretty much straight up like they think renting's a waste of money. So that's like the environment that I've grown up in. And it's sort of taken a while for me to change my mindset to realizing that's actually not true. And I think the community on Instagram is definitely growing to have more conversation around, there actually are a lot of expenses associated with buying and changing properties if you're going to move in 5 years. So I think renting is definitely, coming along in terms of it, people being more willing to rent. And I think, the younger generations, sometimes committing to a house feels like a lot. So having flexibility with renting is definitely a pro.
I think that from my perspective, just some people may be forced to rent, like it won't become an option. Like and understanding that if you are forced to be in that situation, it's okay. Like there's other ways to skin the cat. Many people will in the next probably 10 to 20 years unfortunately lose touch of purchasing a home, which is pretty scary. Okay. I've got young kids. It's a worry for me by the time they kind of get of age, which most parents is, can work together on setting them up. That's the worry for most people. Okay. Hopefully I've planted enough good seeds that they don't need to worry about it. Shh, don't tell them, everyone. Like we don't want to tell them that. But the reality is renting is not a bad option if you're also not wasting your money doing other things. And I think that's the biggest one. It's when you're renting, wasting your money, you can kind of get into that snowball where you get so far behind of where you're going to be. But I guess if you are struggling, I think that brings on to, another thing is that going to seeking advice and, not being afraid to. I think the other one that I've started to see as I've delved more into kind of the millennial space over the years is that there's a lot of people out there afraid to speak about their finances. They sometimes feel a little bit ashamed, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, especially for someone like me. I've seen it all. I've seen it absolutely all. And if you're not going to get help or seek help, well, where are you going to be in 5 or 10 years? So, I think that's another one that's a really topical at the moment in regards to renting or buying. And there are options, especially at the moment, and I think it's mainly about just exploring those. All right. The other one that I absolutely love that I want to speak about is the FIRE movement. Okay. I jumping onto Instagram, and I haven't been on Instagram for a hell of a longer time. I actually thought it was only for purchasing bags and shoes and stuff like that, to be honest with you, and photos when I first knew about it. Realized it was much bigger than this, and obviously then jumped on. But this whole new FIRE movement that I've seen, and there's a big community around that. Your thoughts on the FIRE movement? I love it, but what's your thoughts on it?
I think it's still something I'm probably developing my thoughts on it. I think it just depends on the person, honestly, because, I think it's good to want to be financially independent. I think it just, the thing that worries me is like when it goes to extremes, if you're kind of depriving yourself of everything now in order to be financially independent. It sounds great in theory because it's like, I'll never have to work again. But at the end of the day, quitting a job, even if you hate it, it's like, it's not going to solve all your problems. You're still like, it's sort of like once you stop working, yes, you have more time, but what's your purpose in life? It's like, what are you going to get up and do every day? So I think that it definitely, I think it's specific to the person. For example, for me, like I love my job. You're probably the same. So it's like, I don't really feel a huge rush to get to FIRE because, I want to have a balance of setting up myself for a financial future, but also enjoying the now because, we earn money. It's like, we also deserve to enjoy it. So, I think it just really depends on your goals. If you want to become financially independent so then you can go and pursue this other hobby without having to rely on it as an income source, then why not? That's awesome.
Well, maybe it should be that. Maybe it should be the choice too. So when we're working with FIRE aspiring people, It's unlocking the mindset, exactly like you said, to not deprive yourself, but being in a position to have the choice to retire early. And so this ability to have the choice too is exactly what you said before. You love what you do. I love what I do. Like for me to be able to just say, hey, that's it. I'm calling it in. I'm retiring and I'm done. I'll go mad. Like literally, my wife will be like, John, get back to work. Like ASAP, please. You're going to just send us all mad. And so, yeah, I think I love the FIRE movement for one specific reason. People are thinking about their tomorrow. And I must admit that before the FIRE movement, I thought a lot of people were just YOLO. Yeah. It was this whole YOLO movement that I'm starting to see this FIRE movement. And hopefully there's something in between. Yeah. And I think that I would rather have personally people thinking about retirement, because the biggest issue that I've got as a whole in society is that most people are living for today and not for tomorrow. And the scariest thing is that most people are going to rely on what they've got in superannuation from their employer contributions. Yeah. Honestly, some people won't admit it, but they're waiting for the inheritance from the next generation, like from the generation above them. And that is very sad for that to be the case, because I can tell you straight up, if you're just relying on employer contributions to make you through to retirement, you're probably not going to live a pretty good life in retirement. And also waiting on inheritances, well, bit of news, everyone. The medical system's pretty good, so people are living longer. And then when you want to retire, is the next generation living to 100 plus? And therefore, when are you going to get that inheritance? That sounds very morbid, but that's the reality. This is where we're walking into. So I think having a good balance between YOLO and FIRE, is probably the sweet spot. But yeah, I would rather people encourage a FIRE movement than not, okay, and dial themselves back.
I think as well, like having that plan is so valuable, because then once you've got a guideline of how much I need to save if this is my goal, then you can actually spend money and relax about it. It's not like YOLO and then spending it and then being like, oh my God, I'm in all this debt, and it's like crippling. It's literally crippling. And I think, as well, I guess in Australia, like they will continue to sort of move the age you can access your super up. So at the moment, it's 60 if you retire, 65 anyone can access. But that's, if you want to retire at 50, then you need a FIRE plan, because, maybe like you don't get the age pension till 67. So there's a lot of factors to consider. But I'm definitely all for people taking charge of their finances and making a plan. So I think that's something we can agree on.
That's it. Now, I know that a financial advisor adds much value to a millennial. Okay. It's actually, if you want to see all over my marketing, it's all around millennial. And for everyone listening, the main reason why I love that is because I know that I can add a lot of value to a millennial. They've got usually a lot of moving pieces in their life. They're potentially looking to have a family or have a family. And they're also in that kind of sweet spot that if I kind of work with their mindset and their behaviors right, I can really kind of leapfrog them to where they need to get to. Now, I'm going to just ask you, before obviously I talk too much, if everyone on my Cash Talk listeners know, where do you see the major value in engaging with a financial advisor as a millennial?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's mainly around building good habits early on, because, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It's not like you're going to go to a financial advisor and they're going to be like, look, we need to save everything. Everything's going in super. It's not like that. It's just like, if you build these small, consistent financial habits early on in your life is going to be so much easier down the track. And it doesn't, because of obviously the power of compounding, it's like the more you can put in sort of early on, just that small amount consistently, it actually really does add up. And I think we can't quite comprehend the power of compounding. Like, it's really hard to get your head around it. People think, oh yeah, your balance increases, but compounding is pretty powerful. So I think definitely changing your mindset is probably a key part, and adding that bit of accountability as well.
Well, I was just going to say to everyone, Albert Einstein refers to compound interest as the eighth wonder of the world. Okay. And I actually say to my young boy, I said, son, there's two magical things in this world. One is love, and the second one is compound interest. Okay, my wife starts laughing. She's like, John, stop it with this kid. Let him have a childhood. But the reality is that it is a magical thing, compound interest. And if you get to understand it and gets to use it, it's an amazing thing. So, yeah, I think having those habits and those behaviors early on is critical. I think the other one as well too is maybe a little bit of a misconception, and you might hear this as well too, is I get a lot of people that even DM me that want to have a meeting but don't really know if they're right to have a meeting. Is like, hey John, I don't have any money, like should I actually come see you? Now I just want to put it on the record, yeah, a good financial advisor is someone who helps you get from where you are to where you want to be, not where you are now and just cut your grass. Like, I think there's a misconception that you need to go see a financial advisor once you've made a bucket load of money. Like, do you sense to feel that? Because that's what I've started to feel in maybe the last year or two, that it's like, John, I don't know if I should come see you yet because I haven't made the money yet.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's like, yeah, it's sort of beside the point, because I guess the point of a financial advisor is they're objective to your life and they can zoom out and see the big picture. So sometimes people will just be quite narrow, focused on one thing, like how much do I need to save, or how much should I put in super, or what should I invest in? And that's only sort of one tiny part of their big picture strategy. And if you can build that strategy and have a plan, it's really powerful. And yeah, like having, even in terms of the making money perception, like some, you know, it doesn't always change things. People get pay rises and they're earning really great money, but they're just not really utilizing it. They don't have the right structures set up, and they don't have a plan. So I think, yeah, the earlier you can do it, the better. There's literally no downsides.
I tend to agree. So, you know, for all the listeners and viewers on here, I think, you know, working with a financial advisor as early as possible, you know, will get you to create good habits, good behaviors, and really get ahead in life. And you know, if you're on that FIRE movement, hopefully accelerate it, you know, or put some perspective in it. I think the other one, like you said, is around having that good balance between lifestyle and financial advice, or financial outcomes, sorry. And I work a lot at the time about saying, hey, listen, I can make you as wealthy as possible, but you'll probably be miserable, and try to really get that balance between happiness and wealth creation. I know you had a question for me.
Yeah, I do have a question for you. I'm going to ask you because you have a lot more experience than I do, but this is something that my friends often ask me about. So they sit me down and they want to talk about finances, and I'm waiting for all these detailed questions. But the main one I get is, what do you think about crypto?
I knew it was going to be something about this. The reality is that, like you, I get asked this all the time. And I'm probably talking on a daily, maybe twice a day. Like, literally, it's that regular. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
First of all, from the get-go, I am going to tell you that as a financial advisor, we cannot give advice on cryptocurrency. Okay? Why? The reason why, it's not a financially regulated asset. So if you think about crypto, which may be the way that the financial services industry runs, or, you know, the financial banking sector runs, okay? That's all cool and well, but that's kind of speculation, okay? So we don't know that that's going to be the case. Now, as we're recording this right now on the 9th of December, 2021, okay, yesterday, Josh Frydenberg comes out and says, hey, listen, we're going to start regulating this. We're going to start putting in measures where people have to have financial licenses to be able to provide advice on this. And Nicola, I don't know if you watched that yesterday, but literally that's where the space is today. Okay?
Yeah.
So the government knows this. There's a bit of a gap at the moment between the professionals who know about this stuff and the people that don't. And so these friends and these people that are asking, they're asking questions because they don't know the true source of information. And so the government's trying to fix this. And what they're trying to do is create regulation, parameters, frameworks in play, and then potentially put it in this regulated space where I may be able to provide advice on it. Now, let's just and I don't like crystal balling, everyone. So please, I'm just going to go out of my comfort zone for right now. But let's say we have a crystal ball and the government kind of regulates this, and all of a sudden, like Josh Frydenberg has said, is we now have an Australian cryptocurrency. We're no longer using $50 notes, $20 notes. We're not transacting like that. We're new in this new cryptocurrency. What does that look like? Because I think people need to understand my view on what that looks like. Okay. So my view on that is, like tobacco, like alcohol, the government will stamp it out unless they tax it. Okay.
Yeah.
The biggest issue why the government is getting in it, okay, is yes, to protect the consumer, but also to protect their revenue stream. Okay. Now, if you are naive enough to don't think that is the case, I can tell you right now, it is on their top priority list to ensure that that is regulated so that they tax it. Okay. Now, that will give good protection measures, but it will also regulate what's supposed to be deregulated. Okay. If it's deregulated, it will also be banned, because just so everyone knows, okay, you've got a $50 note, for example, of your Australian X dollars, we're going to call it. It's not real Australian dollars, it's your own version of it. That use of that money is actually illegal, okay? You can't use that as legal tender to purchase stuff, okay? The government would say that you're trying to go against the Australian system, and they would make it illegal. So with where the government is factually saying things are going to be, and let's crystal ball and fast forward a couple of years and this has come in, yeah? Well, then what do I think of cryptocurrency? Well, cryptocurrency as a technology is really integrated with the world we are today. It's utilizing the system. The old checkbooks and stuff like that is gone. The government's got their way to digitalize currency and digitalize money. Yeah, they now know exactly where everything's going. They literally have a lens on every single transaction that's happening as we speak. We've gone from deregulation to complete regulation. Okay. We now have financial people with licenses being able to give advice, and we're now giving advice on I'm not even going to say the word, an asset or an item, yeah, that people speculate on. Now, as an asset class or as a item, at the moment, cryptocurrency does not derive an income. So the issue I have with it as we speak is that because it doesn't derive an income, it doesn't form the definition of an asset itself. So, Nicola, obviously at uni, what I studied as well, yeah, an asset is based, or value is based on its future incomes. Yeah. If it doesn't have any future incomes, it's not classified as an asset. So my view on it at the moment is I'm still not sold, yeah, on it as a wealth creation tool to get where it needs to get to. Like as a speculative tool, as an asset that you can kind of move with. Yeah, there's a lot of money being made trading the asset. But for me to go out and tell people, hey, listen, go and buy that, you're not going to hear that from me because it will constitute personal financial advice. Two, I've really kind of got to get it that I feel comfortable that it's in someone's best interest to be able to do that. And I'm yet to be convinced that it's in clients' best interest for them to do it from a general sense. Now, I must put a caveat on this, everyone. This is general advice. This is not personal advice. And actually, I can't even advise on if crypto is appropriate for you or not. We will wait and see where the government plays this out. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's always good to hear your perspective on it. I think as well, when you touched on potentially the Australian government bringing in its own cryptocurrency, it's sort of like, then where does the value of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin, all the other 500 currencies there are, like, where does that play out? So it's just, one of those things. We can't predict the future.
Well, right now, the sources of information is you got to be looking about how the governments are actually handling this. Okay. And the US government has come out and said, yeah, we're creating our own one as well. Like, you got to think about, like, it's not a matter of, are we going to be under a cryptocurrency kind of system? I think that we're heading there. There's no indication to say that governments are going against it. It's just a matter of when we're in a world where we've got governments that have now got their own cryptocurrency, what stance do they have on other cryptocurrencies trading in their country? What history has told me is that they don't like it, yeah, and they usually stamp it out. Well, the Chinese have gone as far as to ban it, yeah, like, yeah. So that's where my headspace is in crypto. But like I said, we'll wait and see how it plays out. I know a lot of people making a ton of money in crypto. Good luck to them. I wish them all the best. There's a lot of people making money in trading stocks as well. Good luck to them. And there's a lot of people flipping houses as well. So, good luck to them as well too. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your insight on that one.
That's all right. And usually on Cash Talk, I don't get asked questions, but Nicola said, I've got one that I need to ask you as a burning question. So I should have asked her what it was for. But to wrap things up today, and thank you for joining me. But what I want to know is, where's Nicola in 10 years from now? Like, where are you? Like, obviously you've got a massive passion for the industry. Where would you like to be in 10 years from now?
Yeah, I guess this is something that I think about fairly often, in terms of there being, I guess, two main pathways I can take, in terms of one being the traditional financial advice route, which is where I definitely do want to go, in terms of having clients, probably working for someone else for a few years while I build up my knowledge. Maybe in the future I'll have my own business, or a partnership with a couple of other advisors. And, that's obviously key, what we've been speaking about, like having the personal relationship with clients, really impacting people's lives, seeing the tangible changes in front of you of how much of an impact you can make. But then I guess there's also the financial literacy space, because obviously advice isn't really scalable from a personal sense. There's only so many clients you can see one-on-one as one advisor. And so then I sort of think about, well, who else do I want to impact, and do I want to help your average people learn more about financial literacy and about money? And so I guess in the future, I guess want to keep on building my platform, and perhaps release a bit more detailed educational material, rather than just being like Instagram posts and stuff like that, but something a bit more around like ebooks or courses where, it's not going to be personal advice, of course, but it's going to be a way that people can learn about money, learn about their finances, and sort of even build up that pre-advice knowledge. So when they get to a point where they want advice, they're sort of ready for it.
Yeah, and I think there's that kind of motion in there that I hear, that you kind of feeling where the industry's gone, which is like more like a done for you program, where this really one is like, you can see Nicola's passion, which is mine as well too, around this whole kind of a little bit more than DIY. It's like in the middle, where it's like you're not by yourself, but if you can kind of have some guided educational financial literacy, most people in my industry would love it, because we know that most people's successes financially happen due to the behavioral side of things and the financial literacy of those individuals. So, I'm sitting back and watching it from afar, Nicola, and I'm loving what you're doing, and hopefully from 10 years we're seeing that all come to fruition. So thank you very much for joining us on Cash Talk, and for everyone, I will leave her details in the on all the platforms we share this on. And once again, thank you, Nicola, for jumping on.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, John, and thanks everyone for listening. I really enjoyed this episode.
Have a good one.